Hi, this is Crystal with Go Go Gaddis Travel. It's been a while since I've done a sit and chat video and just kind of bring you up to speed and let you know what's going on in my life. So the first question is, how's retirement going? Retirement is going great, very, very well. I've been retired for about a year and a half. My husband has been retired for about 6 months. And our days are very full. When we first retired, we were concerned that what would we do all day? What would, um, where would we find our purpose and meaning when we don't have work anymore? Things like that. I know a lot of people struggle with that, and especially my husband John. He really struggled with some of that. But really, it's very full. I mean, we do a lot of travel, and I'm going to talk about that here in a little bit. But how do we fill our days? Well, most days we, wake up and I get to sleep in as late as I want. He's a very early riser, so he's usually up by 4 or 5 in the morning. For him, he goes into his computer. He has a thing that he works on called Orbiter, where he does computer design of spacecraft and things like that. And it's just a hobby, but it's a hobby with people all over the world. And he literally spends 8 to 10 hours a day doing that. So that's like his new job. His hobby has become his new job. So he goes in and does that for 8 to 10 hours. And then in the evening, he comes out and we have dinner together and we, watch some TV or a movie or something and then go to bed. And then we have the next day. For me, I kind of do that pattern 3 days a week. Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays usually. And I wake up whenever I want to. I do my Bible study in the morning, and then I come into my room and I sew. I love to sew. I work with a group called Love Thy Baby, and we make baby items for families of low income. So these are typically given to families at the hospital when they've had their baby, but we also give things to groups at clinics, and they give the items as they're needed. That can be tote bags or toys, all sorts of things. It's really fun, very fulfilling, and I have lots and lots to do to fill my days that way. So Tuesdays I go down usually to a ladies' Bible class, and then I go spend some time with a friend, go to lunch, and then on Thursdays I go down, pick up a friend, and we go to Love Thy Baby and spend the day there, have lunch there, and then maybe run some errands and then head home. Saturdays sometimes are spent with my son. Sometimes Saturday is just a repeat of the weekdays. And then Sundays we go to church at where we used to live. And so we drive there, spend the whole day. We have an evening activity we do, and then we come home. So that's all day. That's an all-day event. So that's how we're spending our retirement days. And honestly, we love it. I mean, it's fantastic. And there's nothing to prevent us from going on vacations. The only thing that prevents us from leaving on trips is the volunteer opportunities. That means we're, leaving people in a little bit of a lurch. On Sunday nights, we teach, my husband teaches English, and I am learning Spanish. So we're part of a language learning ministry at our church. And so we know that if we're going to be gone on trips, that's going to be missed. He gives blood, usually at least every other week. He does platelets. And so he knows that's going to be missed. My friends that I go visit, the Love Thy Baby stuff, when we're gone out of town on trips, that gets missed. So we do miss that, but it's okay. We're very happy to be going on trips and have the freedom and the money to do that. So that's how retirement is going. The next topic I'm going to talk to you a little bit about is downsizing and our dog. In my last video like this, I talked about that we downsized, and then we also downsized our dog. We wanted to do a lot of traveling. We wanted to be gone for months at a time, and that is just not conducive to having a pet. So we found a new home for our baby, Dudley, and that was very sad. And I still have a little bit of a hard time with it, but in life you got to make choices, and so our choice was for Dudley to find a new home. So we owned a house We had paid it off, but it was an old house built in the 50s. It needed a lot of work, and we just didn't have it in us. We just didn't have any desire to fix that house up. So we sold the house, put the money in investments, and rented an apartment. And so for a couple years there, we were both still working. We rented a really cute apartment. We were kind of on a little creek. It was just beautiful, really nice little place. We lived there for 2 years. And really, our plan was when we retired, we were just going to, travel, just basically live the travel lifestyle and slow travel. We went on one cruise while we were working still, and I got sick. Now, he's gotten sick on several cruises, but I got sick, and all I wanted was to just go home. And it occurred to me, oh my, if we don't have a home, there will be no home to go to. I also was kind of doing the logistics of, okay, so we're out traveling, but when we come home for Christmas, where do we stay? We have some family members in town. We have one son. I kind of floated a little bit, thought about, could we stay with them? And that just didn't really seem like it was going to work out. So that meant when we're at home, we're having to stay in a hotel or rent a VRBO or something. So that just kind of rubbed me wrong. And my husband really didn't want to just not have a place to stay. So about a year ago, I did a huge search deciding what are we going to do. So we could go ahead and just stay in an apartment, but we would need a smaller, cheaper apartment to be able to travel and have this apartment. You know what I mean? And so I was looking at smaller apartments. I thought about what about, we have that money that we put in the bank, so we could maybe buy a house or a condo or something. Everything in the area that we lived was very expensive. I looked at some condos. I just didn't love any of them. There was nothing I loved. We lived in an apartment, and so parking at an apartment complex is always a little oogie. It's you can't always get the same spot unless you rent a garage or something or rent a car park. And so I didn't love the parking of a apartment, and so I knew the parking at a condo probably really wouldn't be any better. We were looking at a small condo, like a 1-bedroom, and that meant, that we would have a living room, maybe a dining room, a kitchen, and 1 bedroom, like, 700 square feet. And, for the two of us, I was a little nervous. Was that going to really be enough space? Is he going to get to have his space? Am I going to get to have my space? We're going to kind of be on top of each other. If one of us is messy and one of us is tidy, or is it going to just drive us crazy that their stuff is all over the place? So it was hard. It was just, there was a lot to consider. I really wanted to live in a camper. Honestly, I thought, let's just have a camper. We can pay, we can just buy a camper and then put it at a place and maybe $800 a month rent or something, and we will have a permanent place and it can just stay there. But then, you're back to small. I mean, you're talking 2, maybe 400 square feet. Some of the bigger campers, maybe 600, but small. So it kind of the same thing. And that would basically mean we would have to downsize again. I mean, we'd already gotten rid of about 75% of our stuff. And so there were so many things, and I looked at so many different properties, and just nothing felt right until I walked into this house where we are right now. It's about 45 minutes north of where we used to live, and it's a brand new house, brand new build. So I know it's white walls behind me. I do have some things up. There's a sewing machine back there. I don't know if you can see it, but it's great. It's only like 1,200 square feet, but there's 3 bedrooms and 2 bathrooms. So We have our bedroom together, and then we each have kind of our own office. It's so nice. It's very nice. It has a great big living room, kitchen area. We don't have a dining room, but we just have a folding table that we put up whenever we have guests over for dining or if we're going to play games or something. It's wonderful. It has a 2-car garage, although it's really like 1.5 cars. We can get both of them in there if we have to. But the fact that it is a brand new house is so nice because nothing needs to be fixed. And we're still, inside of our 1-year warranty, and other things are warranted for longer periods of time. So I think this was the right move. We were able to just pay cash for it, and so now the only expenses are the HOA and property taxes. And I know property taxes are high because we're in a newer area that's growing and developing. So the property taxes are high, but it's less than a 600 or 700 square foot apartment would have been per month. So it's worked out very, very well. So we are in a new house. I think being in the new house, we really like it here. It's almost like being at a resort. We're very close to places where we can see nature, where there's a couple beautiful pools in this complex area, in our housing addition, I guess you call it. And it's almost like being at a resort. So it's almost like being on vacation all the time. And so kind of when we go to work is when we go back down where we used to live. That sort of seems more demanding. But up here, it's very relaxed. So we are really enjoying it. Now I'm going to talk a little bit about finances. So how were we able to retire so young? I'm 55. My husband is 65. And like I said, I retired about 1.5 years ago. Well, we made some pretty smart financial decisions along the way. First of all, my husband worked for a community college. So he receives a pension from the state. So his pension is $3,500 a month. Now we had the choice to have a higher pension, but what we chose was to do the one that was a lower pension, but then it will cover me for my entire life. So since he's a little older than me, we decided that would be the best option. We also have money saved, about $200,000 saved, and we have this paid off house that's worth about $250,000. So we feel set. I mean, we're not rich by any means, but we pretty much can do what we want to do. We have a certain amount set aside for travel, kind of the bucket one portion, and then we've got, our investments, and then, like I said, the house. But the pension is a wonderful gift. I mean, it is a really, really wonderful gift. I mean, I think if you evaluate it, it's worth, over $500,000 if you kind of evaluate what it's maybe worth right this minute. Over the lifetime, it's worth, a few million or something. It's worth a lot, or at least maybe $1.5 million, something like that. So pensions are a wonderful, wonderful thing. Working for the government, working for schools has a great benefit on the end. I know he didn't make a lot of money. He's never made a lot of money, but this is such a wonderful benefit. And so if anybody working for the state or working for a school or anything, it's keep on working on, get that pension, because the pension is a wonderful thing. As far as finances, we are, we're very frugal. We can, with owning the house, we just have to pay property taxes and HOA fees, maintenance of the upkeep of the house. But, again, it's a new house, so there's not a whole lot to maintain at the moment. But really, we could probably live on about $2,000 a month. So that extra money is great for travel, things like that. So that's our finances. That's how we're retired and able to do fine. And it's wonderful. I love being retired. It's great. Next thing I wanted to talk about is YouTube. So YouTube is a hobby. I've got two channels really. I've got this one called Go Gaddis Travel because we do travel a lot. And then I've got the other one that's called Every Day Belongs to the Lord. I am a Christian. It is a very important part of my life. It's a very important part of the message that I want to put out in the world. When I first started YouTube, several friends said, well, just do, put them together, have them together. But everyone said, you've got to niche. You got to, niche it. Make sure that you just are focusing on one topic. So I did the two channels. I have Go Gaddis Travel and I have Every Day Belongs to the Lord. Every Day Belongs to the Lord has more subscribers. It has about 750 subscribers, and I get subscribers every day. What I do on that channel is Bible verses, sometimes Bible lessons, things like that. Now that channel, I don't really care if it gets monetized because my focus there is sharing Christ, not necessarily earning any sort of income. What I had hoped is that Go Gaddis Travel would get lots of subscribers, gets lots of views, and maybe monetize there. That's not happening. I have about 200 subscribers. The views are not too bad, but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of editing to make those good videos that get a lot of views. And I got to tell you, I just don't have it in me. I don't have that stick-to-itiveness and that drive and determination to make all those videos. I've sort of burned out on it. I did the shorts for Go Gaddis Travel for quite a while. I called them 10-second vacations. And that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed making those, but they didn't get a lot of views. And in order to monetize with shorts, it's 10 million views, 1,000 subscribers and 10 million views. Of regular material like this, it's 4,000 hours of watch time over a year. So that seems a little more plausible, but you still have to have 1,000 subscribers, and I'm nowhere near. I've only got like 200 on this channel. So I'm trying to decide what I'm going to do. Am I going to just stop doing the Go Gaddis Travel and only focus on the Every Day Belongs to the Lord? Because I still really enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing the Bible verses. And I could just sort of transfer this kinds of content, some of my travel content over to Every Day Belongs to the Lord. I don't know. I don't know if that's a good idea or not. Let me know. Put in the comments. Let me know what you think I should be doing. I love to snorkel, so a lot of my videos lately have been focused on snorkeling. I got a little underwater camera, so I have lots of that on there. Part of it is finding out what people want to watch and focusing on those things. Or I can just do what I want, which is kind of what I've been doing. And it might be easier to do that if I just have the one channel. So I might go ahead and just smush it all into Every Day Belongs to the Lord. Because even when I'm traveling, every day belongs to the Lord. All right, so that was about YouTube. The next thing I would like to talk to you about is travel, because I love to travel. Travel is such a big deal. And of course, this is Go Gaddis Travel. So when John retired, we went on a huge trip, 2 months to Europe. We took a transcontinental from Port Canaveral to Barcelona, and that was on the Carnival Mardi Gras. It was going in for dry dock, so it was going to be there for 3 weeks. During those 3 weeks, we went to Turkey. We were there for 5 days. Then we took a 12-day cruise from Turkey to Rome and enjoyed all those ports. And then from Rome, we flew over to Barcelona and get back on the ship and came back to Port Canaveral. That was very fun. We had a great time. Really, really good time. And that was John's introduction to retirement for his first couple months. Then right when we got back, we got a great deal on a cruise out of Galveston. and it was a 10-day cruise. So, I mean, like 10 days after we got back from that 2-week trip, from that 2-month trip, we went on a 10-day cruise. Had a great time, did lots of snorkeling on that one. Then we came home. That was November. And so December of 2025, we had 2 cruises planned out of Florida. Went on those cruises. Again, had a great time, lots of snorkeling. And the snorkel one, that one I have a video on the snorkels. It's called 7 Snorkels, 1 Trip. Then after that trip, we had no trip for about a month. February 1, we went out of Galveston on a 1-week trip with my sister and her husband. Again, more snorkeling, have a video on that one. And now, in a couple of days, we are leaving for a trip to Australia. We are going to fly into Sydney, be there a couple of days. We're going on a cruise on the Great Barrier Reef, and then we're going on a cruise that goes to New Zealand, and then back home. So that is very exciting. In the fall, we have a cruise planned for Iceland and Reykjavik with our son. So we're very excited about that. And then we have a potential, we're not 100% sure if we're going to do it, but in the early 2027, we have a South America cruise. So we're thinking about that one. That one's going to be very expensive. You know, with anything, with finances, you kind of have to make some decisions. You can't do everything. So we'll have to decide if that's really feasible or not. We're still in the process of deciding that. But it sure would be cool. So we'll see. Well, I know everybody always shows their luggage. So I thought I'd show you what I travel with. So this is my backpack. When I was working with Delta, John and I did a lot of traveling around, non-revving, free travel. But you're just taking your one bag and you go and come back the next day. And so we just needed some good backpacks. So I did so much research, and I found this one for like $20. So we each got one, and they have been great. I mean, literally, I've had it about 7-8 years, and it's wonderful. They've been wonderful. They've held up very, very well. And it is sort of just a big empty hole in there. So you kind of, you have to dig around to find things. But it's a great backpack. I would definitely recommend it. We did have one issue, I think, on his where this handle pulled out and I had to sew it back in. But I was able to sew it back in, and it's still servicing him very well. So that's the backpack I bring. So that's my carry-on. And then for my suitcase, what I used to have was a carry-on size, but I usually check it. I'm kind of a checker. I don't like to drag stuff through the airport. So, and I haven't had any bad experiences with checking. I know people have. And so that's why it's like, I'm never checking anything. But I've had good experiences, and so I do like to check a bag. But I had this, carry-on size suitcase. And for our 2-month trip, I took just that carry-on size suitcase. But I was wishing I had more space. So when I got back, I went ahead and bought another suitcase. And I almost bought one on that trip. But the one I was looking at was pretty big. And I really didn't need that big. So this is kind of the next size up from a carry-on. So you couldn't carry this on. This is definitely a check bag, but it's not huge. It holds probably, unfortunately, I can pack about 35 or 40 pounds in here, and I really can only lift about 30. So I try to make sure and only put in about 30 pounds, because then I can't carry it up and down stairs, things like that, if it's more than 30 pounds. But, because those great big suitcases, boy, you can get those, 60 pounds, and then you have to pay extra on the airline, because they'll only let you go to maybe 50 pounds. So I didn't want to have anything that I would be tempted to overpack. But this is perfect. So, and it's a good brand, American Tourister. I got it at Walmart for $100. I know you could probably get a better deal, on Marketplace or at a resale or something like that. But I'm very happy with this purchase. Very, very happy with it. So that's the suitcase that I use. Um, One thing is, like on Carnival, we have platinum, so we get laundry, we get free laundry. And that makes a huge difference. You really don't have to bring as many clothes if you know that you're going to be able to do laundry. Okay, so that's kind of our travel situation. The idea was maybe every other month go on like a week or two trip. Now we have done some expensive trips, like this trip to Australia, the one to Iceland and Reykjavik, and then that one to South America is very expensive. So we're not getting to travel as often because we're doing these great big expensive trips. So, you kind of have to weigh out what's best for you. But we really want to see the world. And so in order to see the world, not just go to the Caribbean or, go to Mexico out of Galveston or something, it involves a little bit more money. So we feel like we've got Europe's kind of done. We're sort of done there. We've been to South Africa. So we've been to the continent of Africa. We've been, of course, North America. Now we have gone to Australia. We've been to Asia. We went to Tokyo. So we have just about everything covered. If we go on that South America trip, we will almost be to the Arctic Circle. And so we will have been Antarctic Circle on the South America cruise. On the Reykjavik cruise, we will almost be to the Arctic Circle. So we'll kind of have hit the poles, not exactly, but close. So that's wonderful. And maybe in the future, maybe something more in Asia, because we've really just been to Japan. So there's, the world is wide, and there's a lot to do. But we're trying to do as much as we can, but we feel like it's a season of travel. We understand that these are our go-go years. There will be a time when physically we really won't be able to travel anymore, because that happens to everybody. And or the money will run out. So, we're taking advantage of it while we can, and then we will stop when we need to stop. The last thing I want to talk a little bit about is my health. I am basically very healthy. I have so many friends and family, church members who have such difficult circumstances, and they have, maybe their health is bad or financially they have trouble, and it just breaks my heart. And I'm so thankful that we are in such a good situation. We made a lot of good decisions. We followed Dave Ramsey principles of finances, and that has been such a blessing. I mean, we really are in a good situation because of following Dave Ramsey principles. And I'm overwhelmed with gratitude for our health, my health, John's health, and for our financial situation. Now, one thing that's important to both of us is keeping ourselves healthy. And so John goes out and walks at least an hour or more every day. He usually gets about 10,000 steps. In the last about 3 weeks, I've really picked up the walking, and I usually go for a walk for about an hour, but for me, that's only maybe 6,000 or 7,000 steps. I just walk a little slower. And so that's important. Over the last maybe 3 years, I've been on a weight loss journey. I started with Ozempic. I used that for about 1.5 years. The first maybe 7 months, I lost about 50 pounds. And then I just kind of quit losing on the Ozempic. And so my doctor switched me to Mounjaro, and I've lost maybe 25 pounds on that. I have a weight loss goal currently going on where I've got about 3 months left, and I need to lose like another 18 pounds to hit that goal. So we'll see how it goes. I usually do pretty well when I'm traveling. When we were on that when we were on that 2-month trip, I lost about 10 pounds. So we're very active. We're always out doing stuff. And I overeat less when I'm out on vacation than when I do at home. Sometimes, you're at home, the refrigerator's right there. It can be very tempting. So with saying all that, part of taking the Mounjaro is that it has to be refrigerated or it has to be cold. And so that was a challenge for us on the 2-month trip. I had a little cooler that I took with me, but honestly, I used ice and it just melted all over the place and it was kind of a mess. It really, I wouldn't say that was successful. Another trip that I went on, I needed to take 2 doses. And so I used like a coffee cup that was watertight and insulated. And that worked very well because I could put some ice in there and then it didn't leak and it worked very well. This trip, I need to take 3 medicine, 3 Ozempic or Mounjaro shots. And this is what they look like. And so I need 3 of these to fit inside something. So I went to the resale shop and I really was hoping this would work. This is a Stanley and this is only $1.99 at the resale, but it leaked. So the ice is still cold. It's been in there for maybe 15 hours, but it's leaking. So can't use that one. But I also got this one. This is called Hydro Flask. It was also $1.99. It works. It is like kind of more like a traditional thermos with the little lid, and that is a watertight seal. So I can fit 3, I might even can fit 4 or 5 of those Mounjaro injection pills or injection pens in here. And then that will keep it cold and protected. So if you need something like that, this might work for you. I've never had to travel with medicine that I had to keep cold. I know if you take insulin, I know you have to keep that cold, but this is going to work pretty well because it's still ice in there and it's been in there for, like I said, about 15 hours. It's going to have to be cold for about 30 hours for the flight and then transfer to the airport and all that jazz. So I think that'll work. We'll see how it goes. All right. Well, that is what I have to share today. If you have any questions, please, I would love to answer them. Like I said, I'm kind of trying to figure out what to do on YouTube as far as what do people want to hear? What are they interested in? Is this kind of thing what people are interested in hearing about? I like to listen to other people talk about their retirement and, what are you doing? How you doing it? How you paying for it? All that kind of stuff. So that's the sort of thing I watch. So I thought maybe this would be interesting to others as well. So thank you very much, and you have a wonderful day. Bye.